Chapter 121, Variables. At dusk, the sky gradually transitioned from azure to a soft golden yellow. Greene's tone was gentle as he spoke. Tyrion, people who are too calm can easily appear ruthless. The smile on Tyrion's face gradually faded. Greene, you really saw my intention, he said, shrugging his small shoulders. When I talk to you, it feels too simple. I take it as a compliment, Greene replied, raising his glass and gesturing to Tyrion. He took a sip of summer red wine and continued, no matter what the method is, you must always vent for Queen Cersei. Tyrion raised his eyebrows, a smile playing on his lips. Is it that simple? Greene spread his hands. The main reason is that she likes it. Don't forget what my position is. Besides, you can ask Sir Jaime. You should know his character very well. Tyrion sighed helplessly. Well, I always think too much in my little head. No wonder my older sister doesn't like to kiss my little face. He grinned. I have to learn from you the art of serving Cersei when I have time. I have a good suggestion for you. It is said that Queen Cersei likes to watch sideshows recently. Tyrion laughed. Forget it. Her hobbies are always fickle, unlike me. He suddenly lowered his voice. How was the harvest of this trip to Pentos? I'm asking about the Targaryen dragons. Greene raised an eyebrow. What else can we do? The Red Keep has never given up the pursuit, and we can only wander around. Tyrion scratched his head. What a pity. Unless the gods bless him, I don't think I will ever see a dragon with my own eyes. If the Targaryens had dragons, they wouldn't be running across the narrow sea. The last 2 dragons hatched on Dragonstone were grotesque, not much bigger than a hound's skull. They were the last 2 dragons recorded by the Targaryen family, and perhaps the last in the world. I should have given up long ago. Tyrion had a morbid fascination with dragons since he was a child. When he attended his sister's wedding to Robert Baratheon, he made up his mind to see the dragon heads hanging on the walls of the Targaryen throne room. At that time, King Robert had already replaced the dragon heads in the throne room with flags and tapestries, but Tyrion still refused to give up. He finally found their storage place in the dank cellar. Tyrion thought the dragon heads must be breathtaking, even daunting, but he never imagined they could be such beautiful things. Black as agate, smooth and bright, and seeming to sparkle under the torchlight, so beautiful they stunned him. Tyrion spread his hands and gestured. When my sister got married, I saw a dragon bone in the cellar of the Red Keep. Its bloody mouth was terrifying. I think they could swallow a whole bison in one bite, or maybe even the legendary mammoth that roams the icy wasteland. Looking through the books of historians, the Lannister ancestor King Loren of Casterly Rock faced the 3 dragons of Aegon the Conqueror. King Loren quickly chose to surrender to the Targaryen family. After seeing the huge keel, I can only feel grateful for it. Greene nodded. The bards called the great battle about 300 years ago the Wrath of the Prairie. The coalition of the King of Casterly Rock and the King of the Reach fought against Aegon the Conqueror. In one day, nearly 4,000 soldiers were burned to ashes by the dragon, including Mern, King of the Reach. Tyrion took a sip of summer red wine. All the sons of Mern Gardener Aindt were also burned alive by dragon flames. The ruling family of the Reach Kingdom, the Gardener family, was almost destroyed. Harlan Tyrell, steward of the Reach King, offered Highgarden to Aegon the Conqueror, so Aegon the Conqueror granted Highgarden and the Reach to House Tyrell and made him High Lord of the Reach. Greene placed his wineglass on the table. Eternal golden roses. Tyrion grinned. Ha ha! The steward gave away his master's land and became the master of the original owners. Golden Rose had to work hard. This is the craft that Golden Rose is best at. I am more curious about what they will give this time and what they want to get. Greene's eyes moved slightly as he looked at Tyrion. You seem to have found the answer? Tyrion asked rhetorically. Won't Crabclaw Peninsula bet on the candidate for the new prime minister? Greene showed unabashed disdain. Your Excellency, I am Queen Cersei's chief affairs officer. The tradition of the Crabclaw Peninsula is to be directly loyal to the Queen. Tyrion smiled. Now, do you understand my answer? Greene frowned slightly, was silent for a while, and then said, His Majesty Robert is still very young, and there are too many changes during this period. Golden Rose will not ignore this issue. King Robert is only 36 years old this year, born in 262 AC. According to normal circumstances, the rule of Robert Baratheon Un will last for a long time. When Tyrion and Greene discuss issues, he does so from the perspective of Casterly Rock. Jaime, who was supposed to be the heir to Casterly Rock, became a Kingsguard. According to the territorial inheritance laws of Westeros, Tyrion Lannister is now the legal heir to Casterly Rock, but he has not yet been personally recognized by his father. Tyrion's small body leaned on the back of the chair. As a friendly neighbor, I have to pay more attention to it. I heard that the Queen of Thorns in Highgarden is a very difficult old lady. There are also those half-hearted ministers. Everyone's good friend Petter, the venerable Grand Maester, and Varys, who is missing his penis. King's Landing is really lively, Greene said with a smile. We speculate that Duke Eddard is likely to be the next Prime Minister. He and King Robert have a deep relationship, and they trust each other. Tyrion nodded first, then grinned. Our king can have fun again with peace of mind. I really envy him. Tyrion added, What about you? Although you are Cersei's affairs officer, this does not prevent you from trying to please the future Prime Minister in advance. Greene said with some disgust, My Lord Tyrion, are you serious? Are you sure that Stark in the North will do this? Tyrion laughed. The Red Keep is no longer full of sweet words, but the kingdom's government affairs are filled with strictness. You can imagine the scene at that time. I think it must be very interesting. Greene said with a smile, If there are no other variables, they will not be used to each other's way of doing things, and it will take a long time to build trust between them. Tyrion asked thoughtfully, Variable? Greene replied, Don't forget that the Golden Rose is also in King's Landing. They have come a long way, but have to come back empty-handed. This will make them very uncomfortable and embarrassing. Tyrion thought seriously for a while, then said, At first, Cersei recommended the Duke of Highgarden as a Prime Minister candidate at the Royal Council. What is my sister's attitude now? Greene shrugged. You don't want to know. Aha! Tyrion's tone was sarcastic. Well, this is my dear old sister. Fortunately, we have an amiable father together. Greene nodded secretly. Lord Tywin was indeed approachable. Tyrion scratched his golden and white hair with some pain. The truth is often cruel. Only then did I realize how ridiculous it is to stay here and only complain to you. What kind of person is Earl Greene? He is a man who combines humility, honesty, compassion, wisdom, bravery, and honor. He reached out and patted Tyrion. Don't worry about Queen Cersei, let alone the Golden Rose. No matter what the situation is, it will not affect the safety of Her Highness the Queen. My sword can guarantee it. Tyrion's movements froze and he said awkwardly, Greene, why have you suddenly changed? Greene's eyebrows were smiling. Tyrion, your little actions have betrayed you. At least now I believe that the Lannisters are a family that loves each other. Tyrion grinned. Yes, my father is kind, my sister is gentle, my brother is strict. Tyrion laughed heartily. And my brother is well-behaved. Ha ha! After a moment, he added, You are surprisingly reliable. I can return to the arms of beauties with peace of mind. They only love my golden dragon. Hey! Greene smiled. Sir, please enjoy your wonderful time. The sound of footsteps echoed, and Greene turned to see Sulana approaching. Tyrion, ever conscious of his image, immediately composed himself. My master, this is the dinner invitation that just arrived, Sulana said, handing over an exquisite invitation adorned with a golden rose badge. Greene took the invitation and opened it. Tonight? He asked, raising an eyebrow. After a brief pause, he instructed, Sulana, respond for me. I will attend the appointment on time. Once Sulana left, Tyrion teased, Golden Rose, is this a special thank you for knocking out their Knight of Flowers? Greene tapped his fingers on the table thoughtfully. Hand of the King? He mused. No doubt they are targeting Cersei's favorite, Tyrion replied, climbing awkwardly out of his chair. After seeing Tyrion off, Greene made some brief preparations and then headed to the Tyrell's banquet location, accompanied by his guards. As night fell, stars began to dot the sky, and the moon revealed its silhouette. The cool breeze brushed against Greene's cheeks, adding a touch of chill to the evening. Greene had arrived at King's Landing early that morning, visiting Magat's Tower and the Cathedral of Baelor. It had been a long day for him. The invitation was penned in Margaery Tyrell's handwriting, and Greene suspected it was at Olenna Redwine's behest, as the hasty invitation bore the Queen of Thorns' characteristic touch. The North had always been distant from King's Landing, and many were surprised to see Lord Eddard's name suddenly appear on the list of candidates for Prime Minister. Everyone knew of the friendship between the running wolf and the stag, which naturally added a sense of urgency. Lord Greene was considerate of this. About half an hour later, Greene arrived at the gate of the Tyrell mansion. The main entrance was tall and majestic, with a heavy oak door that was pushed open by a waiter. Greene entered and was soon greeted by Margaery. Margaery wore a simple green dress, her long brown curls cascading lazily over her shoulders. She smiled warmly. "Good evening, Earl Greene. I am very happy you could come. Welcome." "Good evening, Miss Margaery. It is an honor to be invited," Greene replied, gently lifting her slender fingers and giving a symbolic kiss on the back of her hand. "My grandmother is upstairs," Margaery said, gesturing gracefully towards the stairs. Greene paused slightly. "Your grandmother, the Queen of Thorns?" Margaery glanced at him. "Please, do not mention that title in front of her, Earl Greene." Her tone was not reproachful, but it indicated a close relationship between them. Greene recalled their past interactions in Highgarden, which had always been polite, but never as familiar as today. His eyes trembled slightly at the thought. Was this a deliberate role distribution for the evening? Greene smiled gently. "Miss Margaery, thank you for your kind reminder. You are very considerate." Margaery's eyes, reminiscent of a gentle elk, sparkled as she smiled softly. "Let's go quickly. My grandmother is waiting for you. She is not very patient." At the top of the stairs, 2 guards stood by the wooden door. They wore gilded half-helmets, green robes trimmed with gold thread, and the golden rose of Highgarden embroidered on their chests. Both were 7 feet tall, with broad shoulders, narrow waists, and muscular builds. They had the same strong jaws, deep blue eyes, and thick red beards. Greene took a moment to observe them before proceeding. Greene stood still in front of the door, observing the indistinguishable twins. Margaery, standing next to him, took the initiative to introduce them. "These 2 are my grandmother's personal guards. One is named Eric, and the other is Eric. Since it's difficult to tell them apart, my grandmother simply calls them Left Hand and Right Hand." Greene nodded and replied, "A very wise title." Eric and Eric slowly opened the wooden door without looking sideways. Inside, the fire crackled and burned in the fireplace, casting a warm glow. An old woman with white hair sat at the head of the long table. Margaery led Greene to the old woman, her hands folded on her belly. "Earl Greene, it is my honor to introduce to you my grandmother, Lady Olenna, the former Duchess of Highgarden, and the widow of Lord Mace Tyrell, now Duke of Highgarden," Margaery said. Greene placed a hand over his chest and said, "Good evening, Lady Olenna. It is a great honor to meet you." He caught a strong scent of rosewater as Lady Olenna's cloudy eyes scrutinized his face for a moment. Then she spoke kindly. "Sit down, child. I am very happy that you are willing to come and have dinner with an old woman like me." Greene first thanked Lady Olenna, then nodded slightly to Margaery before taking his seat. Several waiters quickly filled the long table with various delicacies, and then left the room, leaving only Greene, Olenna, and Margaery. Lady Olenna's tone was lively and engaging. "My child, there are not so many rigid rules here with this old lady. Let's get started. I heard that you just arrived in King's Landing today and were busy dealing with my little grandson. You must be very hungry now." Chapter 122, Greene's Words. The flames in the fireplace swayed, making crisp sounds from time to time. Lady Olenna, thin and small, had eyes so bright they seemed to see into people's hearts. The old lady in front of Greene was very good at creating pressure on people. After hearing Olenna's words, Greene's expression remained unchanged. He simply picked up his wineglass and shook it slowly. "Dear Lady Olenna, are you reminding me to pay attention to my safety?" Taking a sip of the arbor's golden wine, he continued, "Well, all the women in King's Landing already hate me. Sir Loras is deeply loved by women." After speaking, Greene glanced at Margaery Tyrell, who seemed to be glaring at him. "Why is Little Rose staring at me?" Although Greene was filled with doubts, he pretended not to notice. He prided himself on being broad-minded. Why did Margaery glare at Greene? Greene behaved politely on the surface, but she felt that his attitude towards her grandmother was a bit perfunctory and lacked due respect. Is it true, as he said last time, that Earl Greene only has eyes for the Queen and no one else? If it were true, how could the Red Keep or King's Landing accommodate Earl Greene? The smile on Margaery's face softened. She was a patient observer. Lady Olenna, her face full of wrinkles, smiled and said, "Greene, you are a funny person. I haven't seen a young man as amusing as you in a long time." Greene shook his head slightly. "Thank you for your praise. I always feel that the Red Keep lacks a sense of humor. I am learning." Olenna said bluntly, "I understood one thing very early on. There is never anything unprovoked in the Red Keep." Greene remained honest. "Queen Cersei doesn't like Her Majesty Robert's younger brother very much. I just happened to know about it when I arrived at Magart Tower today. As the Queen's chief affairs officer, I was entrusted with an important task by Queen Cersei." Margaery's rose-colored lips opened and closed as she thought for a moment without speaking. Olenna's tone was a little sarcastic. "It's rare that the noble queen and the old woman don't like the ostentatious duke. This is really rare and strange." Greene's eyes moved, and he said casually with a puzzled expression, "This is a good thing." Margaery spoke at this time. "Grandma, Lord Renly is brave and gentle, and is very loved by others." Olenna mocked. "He knows how to dress himself up beautifully. He knows what kind of smile can win the favor of others. Renly is always poorly imitating his brother, the king." Margaery said helplessly, "Grandma." Greene couldn't help laughing. "Lady Olenna, you have a sharp eye." Greene's words made the atmosphere at the dinner table tense for a moment. Margaery reacted quickly. "Earl Greene, Duke Renly has a noble status. She glanced at her grandmother and Greene, who looked indifferent, and continued helplessly, "should not offend him lightly." Greene shrugged. "Are there any other ears here? Miss Margaery, we are among friends." The corners of Margaery's eyes twitched slightly. She stopped speaking and turned her beautiful eyes to her grandmother sitting in the front seat. Olenna's eyes were sunken, and her voice was slightly raised. "Little Greene, very good. We have a lot of consensus, which will make our conversation more and more pleasant." Greene smiled and nodded slightly towards Olenna. After a pause, Olenna suddenly said, "I heard that you admire my foolish son?" Greene answered without hesitation, "Lady Olenna, I have always respected the Duke of Metz very much. Although I am only a small lord, I know that it is difficult to manage a territory, let alone the vast Reach. I was fortunate to witness the prosperity of the Reach last time. Duke Mace's achievements are truly impressive." Margaery moved her lips, and her eyes met her grandmother's. Margaery's look seemed to say, "Grandma, look at him." Olenna silently withdrew her gaze, stared at Greene for a while, and then said, "You have a flexible tongue, and it is also very sweet. No wonder our Duke of Highgarden loves you so much. You must know some information better than I do. I am already a half-deaf old woman. The intelligence manager in front of the Emperor revealed some information to us. The guys seem to think that Golden Rose should thank him for this information. Everyone has a desire to be known or yet to be known. If truth be told, in my opinion, the most useful parts of Varys as a man have been cut off. Apart from ambition for power, what else can bring him joy?" "You have piercing eyes." "Grandmother," Olenna said nonchalantly, "I knew when I was younger than you that every stone in King's Landing has ears. There are also many spiders in the flowers in Highgarden. As long as you abide by the rules, I will let them go, but if they dare to get in the way, they will be trampled to death immediately." Greene remained motionless and closed his eyes for a moment. After he opened them, he looked at Margaery and said, "Miss Margaery, don't worry. At least there are no hidden ears in this restaurant." Margaery smiled appropriately and thanked him politely. "Earl Greene, you are very careful and thoughtful." How could the mansion of Golden Rose have the eyes and ears of others without permission? Margaery clenched her little fist under the table. Greene added, "When I was in the temple, I discussed the issue of the new prime minister with several good ministers. Everyone felt that the Duke of Winterfell would be appointed Hand of the King by King Robert. At that time, Varys was also present." Olenna snorted softly and stared at Greene with a deep gaze. "The Red Keep is full of deception and tricks. The old woman would like to know what you are going to do next?" Greene's eyebrows raised. "Madam, you seem to have something on your mind?" Olenna's tone was vaguely angry. "Is that Lannister queen planning to break her promise?" Greene spread his hands. Lannisters never break their promises. Queen Cersei personally recommended Duke Mace as the Prime Minister candidate at the Royal Council. She also established Duke Mace as the Prime Minister candidate at the Royal Council and temporarily served as an advisor to the former Prime Minister, assisting the former Prime Minister in handling the kingdom's government affairs. Sighing, Greene continued, I think you must already know these things. Everything was going well, but... Greene shook his head, a trace of sadness appearing on his face. Margaery glanced at her grandmother, who was staring at Greene, and said, Earl Greene, although there was an accident, we hope to finish everything from beginning to end. Greene nodded solemnly. Miss Margaery, I agree with your point of view. Everything must have a beginning and an end. But, hearing this, Margaery recalled the words Greene made her father laugh at the Highgarden dinner. He said, but the words before were meaningless. Margaery was nearby at that time. She heard clearly and was impressed. Greene continued, After the death of the old Duke, Queen Cersei has lost some of her interest. Margaery asked, Part of it? Please speak frankly, Earl Greene. Miss Margaery, when we saw the name of the Duke of Winterfell appear on the list of candidates for Prime Minister, everyone actually knew the answer in their hearts. What happened under the Iron Throne more than 10 years ago is still fresh in our minds. In a way, the relationship between the Starks and the Baratheons is unbreakable, and we have to admit it. Margaery was speechless for a moment after hearing Greene's answer. Lady Olenna, whose face was full of wrinkles, suddenly said, Young man, I heard that you like the millet from the Reach very much? Greene's eyes moved slightly, and he glanced at Margaery first before saying, Yes, madam, there is still a war in my territory, and my 30,000 soldiers consume a lot of food every day. Lord Greene has always been honest. There are more than 30,000 citizens in the Craibo territory. To him, every citizen is a soldier of Craibo. When she heard 30,000 soldiers, Olenna's pupils shrank. Olenna seemed to be mocking. The old lady's ears are not good, but Golden Rose's ears are not deaf. You have regained the family's old land, and the war could have been stopped. Are you planning to swallow the entire Crabclaw Peninsula? Greene corrected her. Miss Oriana, I must clarify that Kleb's ancestors once ruled the Crabclaw Peninsula. I am merely restoring the Kleb family's lost control over it. Margaery raised an eyebrow. To understand Greene better, she had taken the time to read many books about the history of the Crabclaw Peninsula. The civilization there had always been very backward and received little attention in Westeros, so the recorded content was extremely sparse. According to legend, Lawrence Kleb, who brought a brief peace to the chaotic Crabclaw Peninsula, could uproot a pine tree with one hand and throw it half a mile. Margaery was very surprised when she read these accounts and doubted their authenticity. Now, this story was being used by Greene to legitimize the Kleb family's rule over the Crabclaw Peninsula. Perhaps this was one of the special features of the Crabclaw Peninsula that Greene spoke of, but what Margaery saw more clearly was some kind of powerful means in the power game. As long as you have the strength, you can have a justifiable excuse. This is the right to rule. It has been hundreds of years, and some stubborn and annoying people still feel that the Golden Rose's right to rule the Reach is somewhat untenable. But so what? The Reach thrives under the rule of the everlasting Golden Rose. Olenna's face softened slightly as she continued. Child, it is a good thing to have needs. It is much better than doing nothing like our mediocre Wildboar Duke. Come on, let's put the fickle Lannister woman aside for now. I want to hear your advice more. The old woman likes young people full of energy best. The fickle thorn pierced the Queen of Thorns, and Greene appreciated Olenna's evaluation of Cersei. After a moment of silence, Greene said, I am very worried about Duke Ed's safety now. I heard that the Neck is the only way for them to pass through. That area is soaked in rotting swamps with dense trees. It will take at least 10 days to get out of there. Margaery suddenly felt the solemnity of the atmosphere. She didn't show it on her face, but she was frightened by the deep meaning hidden in Greene's words. Before Margaery could collect her thoughts, she heard Greene say, But if something happens, it will be easy to think of the Duke of Metz. King Robert is a person who does not like to listen to advice because the invincible Warhammer is his reason. We can only ask the gods to bless us and let Duke Eddard reach King